What's your definition of unstoppable?
Being truly and authentically you, no matter the situation. I feel like I've been trying to chase something my entire life, and I think that what I've been trying to chase is how other people are living. I think just this year I finally told myself, like, I'm done living like that. Like, I'm going to live by my terms, through my rules and my practices and my purpose. Live through your purpose. Your purpose will speak louder for you than anything else. I found mine through this job. You know, I found what I'm meant to do moving forward and what I think I can do to change the world and leave it better than I came in.
Let's freaking go.
Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back everybody. Look, I'm super excited, not because we're like trying to do some kind of big deal, but because a lot of times we guys don't get to see what happens behind the scenes. And I thought it'd be really cool to actually bring up one of our key team members and the master behind all of our social media. You guys love so much, and thank you for the love, by the way. But he's the master editor and K-Studio. No, is it K-Studio? Is it K-Stu? What is it now? Is it Kyle Stupeck? What are we going by now?
We've got
Welcome, Kyle.
We've got about 8 or 9 different names now, but yeah, K-Stu is usually the most dominant one.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, man.
Of course, man. You've been behind the scenes. You get to watch and study all these podcasts and stuff like that. Hopefully they're feeding you up too. But curious to know, why did you fall in love with social media?
I mean, in my generation, social media is, I think, the way that we see the world now. I think there's a giant change in how people are marketing, how people are sharing news, and social media, I think, is just the easiest way to get caught up on everything. And it's also become a huge marketing tool for small businesses and just businesses all around. It's a great way to interact with friends, share memories, keep memories. And I've fallen in love with, like, I'm kind of like a nerd when it comes to, like, the algorithms and stuff like that. And I've been studying those for the past couple of years.
Which is kind of crazy because it's actually kind of hard to beat the algorithms or know the algorithms. They're always changing.
It's hard. Yeah, I was gonna say it's hard to keep up with them because it's just constant change. So you always have to maintain the algorithms as much as you can. But yeah, it's just something that I think is such a great economic resource right now. And I think moving forward, it's going to be that way. Yeah. It's going to do nothing but grow.
Now, do you think that any of the social media content is misleading or confusing? Because if social media is driving influence, right, then the stuff that's coming through social media has to be accurate for it to be truthful. Otherwise, you have people believing lie after lie after lie. So how do you know the difference between a truth and a lie nowadays?
There's so much misleading content out there. I mean, it's hard because there's so many people that you think are very genuine and honest and know what they're doing. And then most people don't do their own research, so your instinct think is, oh, that's true, or that's got to be reliable. He's got the verified check next to his name, it's got to be real. But most people don't ever really do the genuine research behind it to make a assumption of it that's true or not. Being on social media so much and working in social media, I always do my research. So if there's something that always catches my eye and is like, that will make me question this perspective or this choice I'm going to make moving forward, I will do that research. And most of the time that can come up with some kind of answer or some sort of result. But it's hard as like a general social media watcher or just someone who's on platforms all the time to be able to base something that's true or not. I think sometimes it's kind of based on the person, what your beliefs are, what you believe outside of the social media world.
Well, the whole purpose behind every single platform is for you to watch and or engage with it more. So therefore, the algorithm or the platform is always looking for your interactions to determine what it is you're going to take action on.
100%.
And then kind of sucks you in from there, which makes it really difficult to get outside perspective or outside views on anything. It doesn't matter what that view is or if it's positive or negative for that matter. It's always kind of like reintroduced in the same kind of capacity. When you're making content, obviously for us, we have the Scoggins International brand, which is the live event side, and you guys do great with that. You make my content. What are some specific things you're looking to pull from that helps you kind of like showcase the maybe the best way for us to kind of like really engage with our platform?
Personally, I just like content where people are real. Like, the content that doesn't have to do with statistical facts and that you need to do that research behind, like the life mastery stuff, just some general knowledge about life and how to basically help other people in a way. Like, there's always people in a rut, and people are always looking for something or somebody that can change that for them in an instant. And I think social media is a great tool for that. And I think I've realized that as I've gotten into my own platform.
Yeah.
I think if you take away the statistical side of things and the research side of all of it, it's a community of people that can help each other. There's so many different people in walks of life that connect through that social media app. And I have met some of my greatest connections through social media, and most of that has come from you as well. Yeah. Running your social media apps and connecting with the aspiring, like-minded people. Yeah. So I think, I think that truly is like the way to grab people's attention is just to be real.
Yeah.
Like
real, no pun intended.
and it's kind of easy for me, it's kind of easy to see. I was an interpersonal communication major in college, which is basically just like the reading body language and eye contact and movement and stuff like that. And you can definitely see that through people's social media. You can see, I can watch a 60-second clip of someone explain something and be like, that either came from your mind or that either came from a script. And, not many people can do that as fluently. Yeah. But it's all about reading that body language.
I think it comes down to you have to really believe what you're saying.
100%.
I know a lot of times when we're recording content, I think you give me like a sentence and you're like, what do you think about this? Riff.
And that's like, that you have to make it as simple as possible. Because I think the simpler you make the question or the topic of conversation, you can riff on that. And to me, that's more real. Yeah. Like I hate the scripted stuff is good for certain things. Like if you're
a mini course or something,
a mini course or a commercial or ad or something like that. But like when you're just trying to speak from the heart and speak from the mind, like you don't need a script for that. Yeah. So,
well, I think authenticity is key, and I think that's what we're learning more and more as the days progress. People are tired of watching the people, rent I actually saw this reel recently where this private plane lands. And, it lands, the business guy gets off of it and he's like walking over to his car. And then this girl in a really nice dress runs over to the plane and takes like 5 photos in front of the steps as if it's her plane.
It's funny.
That's like the definition of inauthentic.
You were explaining that you said plane and my first instinct was that exact thing. I saw, there was a video that broke that down actually. And it was like reality versus this. And it was the picture of that girl in front of a private jet and her caption was like, on cloud 9. And most people would think like you're in a private jet. Yeah. Well, little did you know she just ran out on the runway to take that picture and then she ran back. Like it's the perception is all.
Well, the crazy part is like let's talk about authenticity because I think it's key. What do you think drives human behavior to want to showcase things that aren't true? What do you think the person's looking for? Like, why do you feel like they have the compulsive need to go out and like do something like that?
Because people are so drawn and addicted to the followers and the likes and the comments. Like people are not doing things on social media for the right reasons. And I think there's so many people who, if you had to describe them, authentic is the last thing you would say. Like there's just so many videos and people out there that just think they know it all and think they are, just because they did this successfully means they know about everything. Yeah. And you have to be authentic. Authenticity is the way you are going to be viral on social media. That is the way you're going to connect with the best people on social media. You're going to be able to grow a community. And without that, you've got 1.5 million followers and no friends outside of that, no connections, because you're just not really being that authentic.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. I also think there's a tinge of insecurity. Like you feel like,
oh, sure,
for some reason, if you can't make it look like you're doing better than everybody else around you, that somehow you're less valuable than everybody else around you. Yep. And which is another reason why I'm like anal retentive about, no, you need to find your value from the inside.
100%.
You know this because we talk about it all the time. We intentionally do not show clips or things of nice things that I enjoy.
That's not who you are.
I know it's not who I am. It's and I don't want it to. And that goes back to being authentic with the content you're providing.
Yeah.
One of the things that you had me do recently was like, all right, what's the fastest path to cash if you're trying to start a business from nothing?
Yeah.
And I was like, grab your phone, be authentic, and go create some value for somebody.
And it's stuff like that is so simple, and people will be like, "That's so stupid."
Yeah.
Like what does that do for me? It does a lot for you, actually.
Yeah.
Like I've just started posting like almost every day, and I've seen that success grow. Like especially on my social media, I've had people DMing me saying, "Wow, like this is actually really good. Like you actually enjoy what you do. You love what you do." And I haven't even got started yet.
Yeah.
Like that's my thing. Like I'm just getting into like.
Yeah. I remember you told me recently that one of the things that you didn't know you could do when you first got here as part of the team was like really like be creative and be yourself.
Oh, 100%.
And like, I don't know, it was maybe a week or two. I was like, dude, do what you do. Like, that's what I hired you for. Let's go.
And that's like, that is me in a nutshell. Like when I moved to Houston after college, I just realized corporate was not for me. I did not want to sit behind a cubicle and not even ever know or have a conversation with the CEO or boss. Like that life is just not for me. I've always been a creative mind. I've always wanted to explore what I want to do. I've never really wanted to do the corporate life. And I know a lot of my friends are in it and they enjoy it, but that has just never been me, especially because I feel like I'm always, especially my brain now, my brain is always rolling with ideas and creativity, and I'm always doing something new. Yeah. Even when I leave the office, I go to my home office and I start doing other stuff. Like, it's nonstop. And
they always say that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life,
Oh, 100%.
And I know for me, that's been true for me. Like I love, you guys see me, I'm a bit of a workaholic, or at least I have been for a long time.
I would have never guessed.
Yeah, that's right. Right. I'm curious, like, obviously one of the things that I'm trying to do is, because my kids are about your age, ironically.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious to know about what they're really facing, because my world that I grew up in is different than the world they grew up in, with a lot of complexities, as a rule of thumb. And you know my heart. One of my hearts here recently has been, how do I connect with the younger audience in a way that's true and authentic? Because I find myself being a bit of a mentor, if you will, or father figure to a lot of folks that unfortunately didn't have that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that growing up. Maybe that's why I'm so passionate about it. But while I got your brain here on camera, I'd be curious to know that what you believe maybe the top 5 challenges are for your generation right now in building an amazing life.
Honestly, the first one is unfortunately social media. I think we live in a world on our phone, and we don't live in a world through our eyes and what's literally in front of us. And we get so addicted. I mean, I can sit at home after work and scroll through TikTok for 6 hours and have literally no idea. And I think the perception of others as well, especially if you have a big following, if you're an influencer in your 20s, you have a tremendous amount of people that are shitting on you constantly. Like, why are you doing this? You're just constantly getting shit on. I think that's one of the things, and one of the things I've even talked to my parents about when it comes to connection with them is the way they grew up and the way I grew up are way different. And I think it's very different with these generations specifically compared to any mixed generations in the past because of the technology growth.
Yeah.
There's just so many opinions out there, and I feel like this generation is very easy at letting it get to them.
I think you're, and I don't mean this in a negative way, so everybody don't get mad at me, please. I think your generation is more easily manipulated.
100%.
Because of the content they consume and the ability to manipulate that content in such a quick fashion.
Yep. And a lack of authenticity. Like, I think people still today are looking up to others and like, I want to do that. I want to be him. I want to do that.
Oh, they say they want to do it, but they don't want to put in. Yeah. So I was, this, I work with people all the time. A lot of times behind the scenes and quietly and whatnot. And it never fails. I had one of them come to me not too long ago and like, well, I want to do this, this, and this. Like, you've done this, this, and this. I said, great. You have to do this. 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 Man, that sounds exhausting. That sounds like a lot of work.
Yep.
I said, yeah. And I had to do all of it.
Yep.
So if you really, it's kind of like the truth is if you want to do what someone else is doing in an authentic way, you have to do what they did to get there.
It's all motivation, no discipline.
Yep.
Motivation to me is bullshit. And I say that.
Well, you know my view on it too. So
I say it lightly because like I had zero motivation. I had zero work ethic even before coming here. Like I just didn't have it. In college, I had no internships. I worked a restaurant job. I drank 5 days a week with my buddies. I enjoyed my life. I had a very good career, and then I got out in the real world, and I was like,
yeah,
this kind of sucks. Like I actually have to put in the work.
Yep.
And then when I came here, it all kind of made me realize like I really did not want that life. I really did not want that corporate life, and I was trying to do everything I could to stay out of it. And when I first started doing social media in Houston for the bar that I worked for, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, this is exactly what I want to do. Granted, that job didn't last very long because they didn't really have the money to pay me for it, or they thought they had that, but they didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was truthfully, it was all about me just getting to like this point, like getting to a job where I can have the full creativity and not have the stress of, what would I say? Not have the stress of a CEO or boss down my throat, which you're definitely not. You're very chill and very cool with what I do, and you know how I work and my work ethic and stuff like that. So
what's the second thing that people are really struggling with?
Vulnerability. I think not enough people are vulnerable enough because they are afraid of what everyone else is going to say. I have had to learn the vulnerability with myself being here. I've never really been able to be as vulnerable with anyone outside of like my mom. Like my mom was the only person I was able to be like, I can break down with you. I can't break down with anybody else. I can't have this emotion, this feeling. And when I got here, I was able to really be vulnerable with myself and ask those questions that I've held off for so many years. And it's been so freeing. I mean, like I'm a whole different person.
Yeah, I mean, your personal growth has skyrocketed since you've been here.
If you would have seen me 2020, 2021 through back,
yeah,
it's a different story.
Yeah.
It's all a different story.
All right, so we got vulnerability. What was the third?
So we got social media, vulnerability, and I would say the lack of direction. People either not having a direction of what they want to do in their life or the lack of being able to take direction. You see my generation specifically has a very big voice. And I think they are expressing that in a way that is almost good and bad.
Well, I think the bad side is it's a voice with no wisdom.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%.
With no understanding. And I think that's the one thing that we're trying to create content around is give them wisdom and understanding because we want them to speak their voice. We want them to share their voice. We want them to feel seen, heard, and valued. But at the same time, it's super important for what's coming out of your mouth to be relevant and be true.
Yep.
And I see that as being a pretty good sized struggle.
100%. 100%. Then I would think the next one would probably be just the way the world is economically structured today. I think it is much harder for us to get a life that maybe your generation had when we were our age. I
don't know. I'm a bad example since I was homeless.
Well, fair enough. I'll use my parents for an example. Like, small things like a down payment on a house is much different than it is this year. It's all about renting, not buying, because if you buy, no one can afford to buy.
Yeah, I heard somebody say recently they're going to go to 50-year mortgages.
Not even had Brian coughing up in mortgage.
Well, Brian can afford a house then,
Yeah, true. That's true. But yeah,
just to get the amount of payment down.
100%. But yeah, it's that and just like money issues with, the crazy world we got going on right now. And I think the last one truly, I think, is just fear.
Yeah.
I think it's just the fear of the unknown and the fear of if I do this and it fails, then what? Or if
you do it again.
Yeah.
Try again.
Exactly. Yeah. Or if I'm 25 and I'm here with this amount of money and this guy's, it's just the comparison and all that stuff.
I want to go back to the financial piece for a second because I think this is important for your generation specifically. One of the things that I've seen is everyone has the desire to kind of have the American dream or what we used to be told the American dream was. One of the things that I see is going back to actually ties it back into the voice piece is the generation, unfortunately, is using their voice in the wrong way, expecting folks to give stuff for free. Right. And of course, that's not been my experience.
Yeah.
No one's given me crap. I got an opportunity once or twice and I did my best to capitalize on it, you know? And to that end, I think I think the generation needs to understand that for every dollar the government spends on some weird program or some stuff like that, that's actually what drives the inflation. That drives the cost of living. That drives all the problems. 100%. You know, so the best thing that we can do as a people group is when it comes to money and things like fiscal responsibilities to actually be fiscally responsible. You know, try not to have debt.
But I think also too, a lot of my generation is also asking the question of what is the American dream. Mm-hmm. Like it's definitely not the American dream that it was 30, 40 years ago, and it won't be in 30, 40 years from now.
No, I mean the American a recent study I think that said that basically the traditional American dream changed in the 70s, which basically was a nice family, a house, a couple of cars, all of which you get paid for relatively quickly because everybody was kind of a debt-free mentality back in the day.
Yep. Some
family vacations on a regular basis, and some sports and games on the weekend. Like it was basically centered around freedom.
Sounds like a great life to me.
Yeah, I mean, but that's, but what we do, and this is an indoctrination sequence that I see a lot, and this is every generation. It's been getting progressively worse. You know, they're starting to give out credit card information as to get into debt, and you're 12 or 13 years old in middle school.
Yep.
And people don't understand that when you enter into that lifestyle, you're actually entering into compound interest working for someone else rather than you creating money and putting that money to work for you.
Yep.
It's a wealth principle 101, but all the content in the world is get it now, pay for it later. 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 Not work your butt off, create a foundation, and then buy whatever the heck you want.
We also have to realize too that I think my generation has grown up on the get it now, especially in social media. I mean, like like with news, you had to wait until 5 p.m. on the news channel to find out what happened that day. Mm-hmm. Now we got people live streaming, you know, wars going on in other countries so you can see it from a first person point of view. Mm-hmm. Like it's.
But now with AI, you can't even trust that hardly. Like it's a whole other, like I'm saying, like it's getting more and more complex to actually have a baseline of truth to have a baseline of wisdom.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I know that, I mean, all of those are great points, and I think all of those are true, even in interacting with my own kids. I know one of the ones that I see a lot of people struggling with is anxiety in general. I'm curious to know from your perspective, after consuming so much content and obviously being part of what we do here, how do you view anxiety? And then maybe what are some potential solutions as you're kind of consuming stuff?
So I have personally dealt with extreme anxiety almost my entire life.
Okay.
It started from as an elementary kid who I used to have extreme test anxiety, which was basically I would sit down, they would give me a test, and I would have an absolute mental breakdown. Mm-hmm. Like regardless of how much I studied and how much I knew it, you would put that piece of paper in front of me, I would sit down, and I would bomb explosion. And it's led me. I still deal with anxiety today. I think that's just where the world.
So, out of curiosity, when you're feeling anxious, what's going on? What's going on inside of you?
My own anxiety feels like I am in a white box, and that white box just slowly keeps getting closer and closer and closer, and to the point where you're just kind of like crunched up in a ball. Mm-hmm. Anxiety is very lonely. Because I don't think a lot of people...
What if those walls were paper thin? You could just put your hands through them.
Oh, 100%. And I think eventually through anxiety, that's where you get to. Mm-hmm. It feels like that closed box, and eventually it kind of opens up a little bit, and you're able to walk out of it.
Is it? I'm out of curiosity. I mean, I was very honest with a recent show that I used to struggle with anxiety in a big, big way, and I had to put together tools and principles that actually had nothing to do with medication. For me, specifically, I did have to have a brief medication called Klonopin when I was suffering from severe depression for about 3 months, which unfortunately gave me not permanent. Well, it created permanent damage in my biology to a small degree.
Yeah,
which is why I'm very skittish of any medication of any kind.
Right.
But I'm curious to know, is it a desire to be perfect? Is it a desire to, like, not have either a sense of self-sabotage or a sense of feeling like a fraud? I'm curious to know because it seems like each person, it really comes down to 5 or 6 different key feelings that drives the course of the anxiety.
100%. For me, I think it's always been not letting the people around me down.
Okay.
I've always in some way strive for perfection, but like at this point in my life, I know I'm never going to be perfect. No one's ever going to be perfect. It's not about the perfection; it's about the progression. And that's really what it's been for me. And I think my parents have known that too all along. Like, I have 2 older siblings who, my brother was a multi-sport athlete. My sister was a ballerina dancer, volleyball player. She was really good at that. And then I have me, who, you know, I played basketball and lacrosse and stuff, but I had a very low self-esteem. I came home every day. I just sad. I skipped a bunch of days of school because I just genuinely did not want to show my face. And I think they knew that. And I think they've always kind of known that anxiety has flown through my life a bit. And I think that's why they were like kind of iffy about me moving out to Houston the first time. They were like, "You sure?"
You did pretty good out this way.
I have. I enjoy Raleigh. North Carolina was always one of the places I've wanted to live. Moving to Houston was never in my plan.
Yeah.
But I ended up there, and I don't even think this was in my plan, but I ended up here. So
yeah. Well, and on that same anxiety topic, I think the other thing that I think is interesting is a lot of folks feel anxiety because they don't want to let other people down. But in the course of not letting someone else down, they let themselves down.
100%.
You know?
100%.
And I'm big into, because I'm in my late 40s, which is kind of nuts. Because I still feel like I'm in my 20s to a degree. I do get sore longer at the gym, so it takes me an extra day to recover.
Me and you both, brother.
But one of the things I was thinking about was, in the general course of action, I've become increasingly more and more aware of self-love. And I think to men specifically, that sounds hokey.
Oh, very.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Like, and then I realized that most men are trying to be a knight in shining armor to people that don't even notice they exist. Right? I've also noticed that in order to have a healthy relationship with another person, you have to be a healthy person yourself.
100%.
Otherwise, the thing just self-destructs.
100%.
Because triggers come up and traumas come up and whatever. I say all that to say that I think having a better representation and understanding about our internal value from an inside place. Like, for example, Brian and I think you're a pretty cool dude. Right?
Right.
Outside of your social media stuff. I mean, we like the social media stuff. You're really, really stinking good at it.
It's an asset.
Yeah, well, it's definitely an asset. And it's an asset for an ass, so it's good.
Yep.
You know? But, no, but in all seriousness, I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's good, but we want to hang out with Kyle because he's Kyle, not because he's the social media manager and really good at his job.
Right.
You know, Kyle's funny. Kyle's energetic. Kyle hates when I break bobbleheads by accident. Talk about creating anxiety. Destroy the man's LeBron bobblehead.
I wouldn't say anxiety. I would say more of an in the moment heat moment.
That short mother. No, but in all seriousness, I mean that's what we enjoy, right? We enjoy the real Kyle.
Yeah.
As a owner of a business and someone who gets to watch the team perform, it's easy for me to get behind my team when I see them pursuing excellence. You pursue excellence naturally. You just want it right. You consistently want to pick up a camera. You consistently want to grab a mic. You want to be on a headset. Like you're willing to jump in and help the team any way possible. Our clients absolutely love you. Love Brian. Like that's.
How can you not love Brian though?
Yeah, he does get pretty good hugs. So, by the way, he's been with me for 10 years. He has yet to do a podcast and he's terrified of that chair.
I mean, it's definitely not the most soothing place on the planet. So I understand, Brian.
Oh, Lord.
Under the lights is definitely not the most comfortable area. But I think once you definitely get to talking, like into conversations a lot easier.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that I properly honor you and what you've done for the business. My social media, I was trying as hard as I possibly could, right? To keep up. That's a lot of posting. 2, I always felt like every time that I actually had something that I felt people should hear and I should say, I'd be in some place I couldn't record it.
Yep.
Or I would just put something out.
Yeah.
Therefore, I was being kind of inauthentic.
No strategy.
Yeah, it was zero strategy. Zero, like, it was just kind of willy-nilly. Like, well, this is what I see everybody else doing.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
100%.
And, I think you've done a good job of, helping sit me down. Like, okay, this is what I get when I listen to you as a person. When we're talking about this, or we're doing this initiative, or we're doing this business thing. This is what I think people need to see from you. And sure enough, we started pivoting the content. Next thing you know, skyrocket. So both YouTube, Insta, you name it, and you're a large part of that piece. And my heart. My heart's always has been to impact the world,
right?
In some way, some positive way, whatever that way may be,
right?
And you've been a huge asset to the business. It's another reason why I wanted to put you in that chair. I want to start showcasing you and other members of the team in a positive way, so everybody else knows not only about the behind the scenes work, but about the people that's creating the behind the scenes work that will also someday be in the front of the scenes.
100%.
Because I really feel like you're gonna have a voice for an audience that needs to be reached. I feel like you're now surrounded by a lot of people that are going to help you gain wisdom faster, which allow you to feed them faster, which allow them to develop faster, which maybe by some miracle of God in 10 years will have changed the world from the inside out.
100%. 100%. Yeah, and I noticed this with, like, when I have conversations with my mom. Like, me and my mom are like each other's therapists. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the relationship we have now. And, like, she's dealt with stuff in her own life with her people, her friends, or whatever the case may be. I've dealt with my things, and I think me and her both kind of bounce ideas back and forth off each other. And when I bounce my ideas off her, it makes me realize, like, hey, I can reach the older generation, and I also can reach the younger generation who is struggling through anxiety and depression and self-hate. Mm-hmm. It took me a long time to really have full self-love of myself. Because I grew up, I was a chubby kid with glasses and who didn't really have any sense of style and who didn't really fit in with the right crowds or the crowds that I thought were right. Mm-hmm. I was always in the crowd, but on the outskirts of it. Mm-hmm. I never really partied in high school, never really hung out with people outside of, like, my girlfriend in high school or, like, my two close friends. Yeah. And even in college, like, college was a whole different experience for me. Like, I had a whole bunch of friends. I lived in a fraternity house. All the sorority girls knew who my name was. It was, as you laugh in the background, but it's a whole different perspective. And now that I've been able to see both sides, mm-hmm. I've realized the feelings I have had through both were the same. Yeah. In college, I felt like I had everything. Yeah, I felt like nothing on the inside. Like, I felt like a scumbag. I felt like I was just being disrespectful to other people. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was getting into things that I shouldn't have gotten into. I was drinking a crap ton. Mm-hmm. Sundays and Mondays were really the only off days for all of us. Mm-hmm. And being able to have that self-isolation has really made me look in the mirror and say, who do you want to be? Mm-hmm. Like, who do you want to showcase to, or who do you want to show to others what you are, who you are, and what you can do, and how you can change the world. And I think, and granted, I don't have a terrible life background. I grew up with two amazing parents, two amazing siblings, and a nice house, good schools. Mm-hmm. Like, I had everything I was blessed to be able to give in. Mm-hmm. But, there's just sometimes that those feelings or those words that are constantly going around in your head or on social media make you think, like, yeah, maybe I am nothing, or maybe I am this, maybe that all this is true. Yeah. And maybe I need to relook and reevaluate everything I've done up till now. Yeah. And I think that's what this is. The
interesting thing about gifts and talents is oftentimes it's some of the things that set us apart, or a lot of the things that set us apart, but because we're gifted with it or talented with it, we're too close to it. We don't see the gift.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think one of the things that needs to change in the world, especially in the American culture specifically, is not basing your worth on outside stuff. period.
100%.
Friends, family, cliques, whatever. You know, it's funny. Everybody in the high school, when you're in high school is your world, right? You know, this.
Not mine.
I'm just saying, but
Yeah, I know.
but you know, for the most part, you have your friends, you have the cliques, you have the different cliques that are over here and over there. Some of the cliques don't get along. Some of the cliques get along. Some of the people are like hybrid; they can go into any clique, and some people like have been distanced from cliques and stuff like that because they get mistreated.
Yep.
You know, the crazy part is when you do it during high school, you're like, "This is my world. This is what my world's going to be." And then you get out of high school and even out of college, you're like, you never see these people again.
Yep.
Like the vast majority of the people you go to school with, you never talk to again. Maybe you see the 10-year or 20-year reunion. Maybe.
I talked to probably 4 people in my entire high school class.
Exactly.
Maybe.
And your high school class was probably, what, 800?
530, I think.
Yeah.
530,
so,
600.
That's the point. So to your generation and below, I would say, why not start now identifying what you're gifted at, what you're really strong at, what you're passionate about, what lights you up, and then look at the types of professional opportunities around what lights you up and put your energy in that. You know, we did a piece of content earlier this week where you asked a great question, which was essentially, it's like, you know, what's the difference between, you know, what you've done and what someone else has done, what the traditional world does.
Yeah.
And at 22, I was starting a business.
Yeah.
And I was working 18-hour days, 16 to 17-hour days every day, 7 days a week, 4 or 5.5 years. Meanwhile, a lot of folks that I went to school with were doing some stuff similar to what you've mentioned, which is partying and having a good old time, almost like they wanted the experience before they could afford to have it.
And I will say too, like I learned more in college socially than I did in the classroom.
I'm sure.
Like there are just things the college experience gives you that you will never ever be able to get anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for all of those. Like some of my best friends on the planet I met in college in my fraternity. So I won't say college is like a total waste. I won't say college ruined me or like, you know, but it's a learning curve. College is a learning curve, especially when you're out socializing and there's drinking involved. You start practicing your limitations for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you think as we kind of wrap it up? First of all, where can everybody find out more about you?
Say it again.
Where can everybody find out more about you?
You can find out more about me on social media. I know it's a lot of U's, but it's K-Stu with 9 U's.
Holy smokes.
I also just started another page, K Studios, which is basically all my video work that I'm doing for myself moving forward. I just kind of wanted to separate the personal brand from the video brand.
Well, luckily you get access to a lot of really cool footage, so.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm taking this afterwards and getting right to it. Are you kidding me? I'm cutting this up into about 8 or 9 different pieces. But yeah, you can find me on there, and it'll be a lot moving forward. The page is going to be blowing up for sure here more recently, and I got a lot of things coming that I think are going to shock a lot of people.
Cool. We're excited about it.
Sure.
All right. What's your definition of unstoppable?
My definition of unstoppable is being truly and authentically you, no matter the situation. You know, I feel like I've been trying to chase something my entire life, and I think that what I've been trying to chase is how other people are living. And I think just this year I finally told myself, like, I'm done living like that. Like, I'm going to live by my terms through my rules and my practices and my purpose.
Just don't hurt anybody in the process.
100%. But yeah, I think live through your purpose. Your purpose will speak louder for you than anything else. I found mine through this job. You know, I found what I'm meant to do moving forward and what I think I can do to change the world and leave it better than I came in. So,
let's freaking go.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
K-Stu, always happy to see you, man. Thanks for getting in the hot seat over there and jumping in there and sweating a little bit.
I did hear we were getting a shaker, though. Where's my free shaker? No,
I got a hidden stash of free shakers for podcast guests for sure. Yeah. That's why Brian doesn't get one, because he won't sit in the chair.
No, thank you, man. But thank you, man, for real. The star-studded people that have been on this show, I definitely don't rank near, but I truly appreciate the offer and the opportunity to come on and speak.
Brother, love you to death, man. I can't thank you enough, man.
For sure.
Rock on.
Rock on.
I hope you liked that video, and if you did, make sure you check out this next video right here.
I think a lot of times when you see people who are incredibly successful, you think there's got to be some really complicated, mysterious code. It's not